Hi, this is Lorraine, and I'm doing another video. If you'll give me a second to clear, center, and balance my energy, we'll get started. Okay, so there was a lot of information that came in this week. So much so that I feel pretty overwhelmed, and I'm almost positive I'm going to forget something, that something's going to get missed, just because so much came in and I feel like I don't think I can get it all in a reasonable amount of time, which is, I don't know what's reasonable, less than an hour, in an hour, I don't know, but I guess that doesn't matter. But I'm going to try to get as much out as I can. And I just need to, I guess I'm going to start with what I feel is the hardest thing for me to talk about. And I just need to figure out where to start. So, okay. So I'm just going to start with the first vision in a sequence of events that happened to me this past week. And energetic things that happened in the past week. And so I'm not sure where I was in the moment, but I was somewhere by myself, sitting or standing. I think I might have been at work or maybe on the way to the bus stop. And all of a sudden I see myself struggling, fighting against a male who is much larger than me. I am 5'5", and I would say, based on what I could tell, he was probably in the range of about over 6 feet, about 6'2". And I was struggling against him. He was overpowering me, and in a split second, I hit him under his right arm, his chest, his neck, and then I came across really fast. So fast that if you blinked, you would have missed it. It was just so fast. I don't even think I can imitate it as fast as it happened. I don't think I can move that fast. And I was like, whoa, what was that? And but that's not all. While I was standing there, while I was struggling against this gentleman, this man, and I was being pushed back over something like a table, maybe a railing or something, and I was coming back this way. As I was doing that, I had both hands holding him away from me, and I was calculating. And there were many things I was calculating, but in that moment, I was thinking how much time I had to hold him back with my right arm and strike with my left. And the whole process of that thought was split second. It was immediate. There was no time to think. It was natural, it was intuitive, it was muscle memory, it was training, and I was thinking to myself, is this a past life? Is this a past life? No. Is this a parallel life? Is this me somewhere else? No. And I kept on trying to figure out where this was coming from. And then I started thinking of a video I made about 7 or 8 months ago, and I don't normally name people that I have information that comes in about, but in that video it was very clear that I was supposed to name this person, and it was Jaco, and I was almost like I was getting a lesson in time. So as he was dealing with this assailant, it was like, in this moment, stay right here in this moment. Don't think about the past, don't project into the future, because in my mind, I was projecting into the future. What if more people come in, so on and so forth. And I could see the room I was in, and I described it in that video, but I'm not going to go into all the details. And so I dealt with that one person, and then I could feel like 4 to 5 other people came in, and I dealt with them in that moment, right? And that vision kept coming through, or that experience kept coming through, like constantly, to the point where I was uncertain if it was me or him. Was that me? Was that a memory for me? Is that his experience and his memory? And then it was me. It was my moment. I was experiencing that. And so I was living his experience. And so this is something I don't think I talked about in that moment. And this is what makes this week so complex, is how the information came in. So much information came in. But when I was having that experience with Michael Jaco, I realized that I was him and he was me. And I may have said that in that video, but I'm not sure. It's been a while. And so I drew the parallel to this experience right here, although this experience I had last week was not the same person. It was not Michael Jaco. I have a feeling I know who it was. Actually, I know who it was, but I'm not going to talk about it. And I had gone through that experience so many times that it started to become me. I became that person became me. I saw that as a reflection of myself. Okay, and I'm sorry, give me just a second. And okay, and so sorry, a lot of this stuff I didn't write down. There was so much information that came in, and a lot of times it happens when I can't write it down. I'm not in a place where I can write it down. And so again, I was in this moment, and it happened. I lived it so many times that it became seamless, and that there was no separation between me and this person. Okay, so I was experiencing that moment as if it was my moment. It was my moment. Okay, so I need to go into a different direction for a moment. This whole week, actually, I think last week or the week before, I talked about the divine and how when it starts to see itself, when it starts to be something more than just pure existence, and it asks itself, what am I? Okay. And what is my purpose? What am I here for? And when it starts asking itself these questions, it starts to create. It starts to manifest some type of reality to help see itself. It wants to see itself. What am I? What can I possibly be? What can I potentially be? And then here's reality, right? And so this reality that's created is a reflection of the divine's perception of what it possibly could be. Okay? And so after my last video, I started having these experiences where I'm doing that. I'm saying, what am I? What is my purpose? And actually, it's part of the struggle that I'm having, and it goes back to this experience I was just talking about, and some other things, and it goes to this card, which I will talk more about. And so I see myself or I feel myself in the void, asking myself, what am I? What is my purpose? What am I here for? And then reality starts to create. And then I see this myself almost it's like a music box, a Fabergé egg that's a music box that just kind of opens up, just like 4 leaves open up, and what my vision is reflected on the inside of that egg. And as that egg begins to open, those reflections on the inside of the egg start to manifest into reality. That's the vision. I keep having this vision, and it started when I heard the song by Mercy Me, I Can Only Imagine. That's what it's called. I Can Only Imagine. And I would hear the song, and it was super moving, just so moving. And then it was like imagining the world into being, imagining reality into being. And then I would start seeing myself creating, first within the confines of this egg, and then as I open up that egg, I start to manifest that reality. Okay? And it was very profound, very beautiful, and just, that song just really brings out, like, inspires that divine source energy to manifest from within me out into the material plane. And I think that happens to a lot of people because it's, I think, the biggest Christian music hit or something, pop hit or something like that. It crossed over into all genres of music in the early 2000s. So I think it's a testament to the message. But within that realization of the beauty that can be created, I started to look into my own personal struggles of defensiveness and my need to fight back, right? And so I think that's why this vision happened this past week, where I was, defending myself, right? And in a very aggressive manner. And why? So in that circumstance, it was completely appropriate. And then I started to look back at my life, all the things, all the traumas I have, being beaten as a child, molested as a child, having people try to, right after my 21st birthday celebration, someone tried to get me into to prostitution. Within a month or so after my 21st birthday, the same person tried to get me into stripping and pornography. And I've had people try to kill me, rape me, I can go on. Okay, I could just go on. It's sad, but it's true. So from childhood, I've always felt like I had to defend myself. And I did talk to my mom about things, because even at a young age, I would tell my mom, so-and-so is trying to hurt me. I was like 5 years old, so I only had the words of a 5-year-old. But I would say something. And when I was 9, my dad's cousin's husband tried to molest me and my brother, my younger brother. And I said something to my mom, and she said, just stay away from him. So I never felt defended. So I've always been on the defense. That's just who I am. And so I'm telling you this because I've had these 2 very aggressive experiences through these 2 gentlemen that were combat veterans. And then I have my own story that makes me incredibly defensive. So these 2 combat veterans have seen the worst people in the world. They've combated, they've fought some of the worst people in the world, trying to, the idea, their belief was they were making America safe, right? And so they fought with the ferocity that you can't even fathom, okay? And they sacrificed themselves. They sacrificed the beautiful parts of themselves to become incredibly aggressive soldiers to fight for our freedom, okay? For me, it was a different purpose, the different reason why I became incredibly aggressive and I could be incredibly vicious if I felt like I had to defend myself for a completely different reason. But the message was for me, and should be for us, that we were fighting for something greater than ourselves. In this life, this world is not for the faint of heart. This is not an easy world to incarnate on. And some of us were put in very dangerous situations, made very vulnerable to be hurt, to be harmed, to potentially have our lives taken away, definitely to have our souls stolen from us, right? Put in a place where we felt alienated, alone, abandoned, and that felt like, and feeling like we had to fight for ourselves by any means necessary, with a ferocity that most people couldn't even imagine. And we were put in those circumstances because we can do it. We can face the darkness and find our way out. Again, this world is not for the faint of heart. We were asked to walk through the darkness, fight it, survive it, so we can make it to this place here right now. So we could be here in this moment, right now, for this transition. Because we have something that's important that needs to be done. And we have the fortitude and the commitment and the discipline to make it to this point. The challenge now isn't defending ourselves, because we can do it. We know we can do it. I don't have any fear. I have no fear. I don't fear death. Most people fear death. If you don't fear death, then what else is there, right? That's the ultimate fear. I don't fear it. And I've committed to the divine. So I accept all things that happen in my life. I accept them as part of my path and purpose, and I accept them as necessary to help transition this world into balance. Okay? The challenge now that I face, that we face, for many of us who have learned to defend and protect themselves, to get themselves to this point, is that we're at a place now where we don't have to fight anymore. Okay? Now what do you do? What do you do? When you're conditioned to fight and defend yourselves and protect yourself, now all of a sudden you don't have to fight anymore? How do you do that? We've been conditioned this way. And that is my struggle. And I'm being triggered all over the place right now to move me out of center. I'm constantly being triggered to be defensive in my thoughts, not physically anymore, because you can't move me out of, like, I'm not verbally abusive. I'm not verbally defensive like I used to be. But in my consciousness, I can become incredibly defensive, okay, still. And every time that happens, I clear, center, and balance my energy. Ask the divine to help clear my person, my space, and the surrounding areas, move me into center, infuse me with love and light energy, and empower me on my path and purpose. That's always my fallback. That's exactly where I go. The second I catch a negative thought, that's exactly where I go. And I'm better now than I was yesterday, than I was a year ago, than I was 5 years ago, than I was 10 years ago. But it's still a struggle that I have. And I feel like that's why that vision came in, is the message was for me, and the vision, the message was for me, and the message was for anybody else who is watching this video, because I know that whoever's meant to see this video sees it. I know it unequivocally. I know it. And this message isn't for everybody. Not everybody cares to hear about that type of experience or that vision, the aggression. I couldn't even articulate that to you. but it's an important message for people who are struggling internally. Okay, and so this week, when I went to, there's a local store, and every now and then I go and check out what kind of cards they have, oracle cards and tarot cards, even though I don't do card readings. I just channel energy. I read energy. That's what I do when people come. I just read their energy. But I do pull cards for myself, and I do believe that there are always messages, and sometimes my own ego can get in the way, so it helps to have the cards as an objective third party, let's just say, okay? So I found this deck of cards, and it was like the first one, and it's called the Fountain Tarot. I'll do a picture-in-picture. And the first card I saw was this card. It's the Ten of Swords. And I will tell you, Ten of Swords represents air, thought, and I do not like to get the Swords cards because always it's something negative. And this Ten of Swords, whether or not you're into tarot, I don't think it really matters, but the Ten of Swords represents betrayal. And the Ten of Swords is let's just say the largest number. It goes from ace to 10. So the 10 is ultimate betrayal. Like the deepest betrayal of trust, of anything, mind, body, and spirit, is represented by the Ten of Swords, depending on the reading, okay? And so I saw this card, and I'm sitting in this store, and I'm on this, they have little step stools that are under the table right next to where all the tarot cards are, because they're kind of lined on the floor. So I'm sitting on this little stool, and I'm looking at this card, and the second I saw it, I started crying. I just was like kind of sobbing a little bit, because all I could feel, actually, it wasn't what I could feel, it was what I heard. The second I pulled this card, I saw, all I could see was light energy coming down. Through the swords and into this man's back. And I heard, "Thank you." I'll do picture-in-picture. I heard "thank you." And what I realized was the light is coming down through these swords into my body. Every sword, every betrayal had a purpose. It was part of my path. And then the word wisdom came. These experiences brought you wisdom beyond what you can even imagine. You survived. You fought. You didn't let him take you out. You're a warrior. You're a warrior for God. And you're beautiful. I infuse you with light energy. You are a paladin. Thank you. That's all. And then I started looking at all these, the Three of Swords, another card I cannot stand getting, but look how stunning it is. And all I could see was the water crashing, the emotions, the beautiful heart, the color in the heart, and the light coming in, fortifying, imbuing this energy of the divine with every strike of that sword, with every impalement. And the Five of Swords is another one. not competition, just I can't remember. What's most profound about this card is that here are these, this gentleman has these 5 swords, and he's just eloquently, like an acrobat, just balancing on him, like he's handling it. And the 5 of swords is bullying, dishonorable behavior, just not a positive card again. But look at him, how he's just handling it, and look at all the light around him, just all that love and gratitude for the sacrifices that he's made in these experiences and enduring those experiences. Look at this, oh God. I don't want to make this about cards, but these swords cards made me not afraid to pull swords cards when I'm pulling cards for myself. It validated all the traumas in my life in a different way. I saw all my traumas as the purpose is, first, when I would volunteer at Mary's Place, a day center for homeless women, and I would sit with the women, I would offer readings for free, but often it would just be me sitting with them and talking with them, because rarely people look them in the eyes and talk to them when they're on the street. And so I would just sit and talk with them, and I would talk about, I would kind of plant seeds about my experiences and how I endured and how I made it out, to show them that there's hope, there's light at the end of the tunnel. You don't have to stay in this place. You can fight for yourself. But I wouldn't say that. It was just very subtle conversations. And what this experience with these cards and that vision and those messages meant for me was that it's no longer this small as Mary's Place. Now your wounds, your betrayals, your experiences have prepared you for the next phase of transition. You're ready. Thank you for going through all the things I put you through, or that you were put through, because now you can take it to the next level. And but then we have to go back to the egg, creation, divinity, sitting in that egg, creating this reality, first in thought, and then as that egg opens, manifesting that reality out into the universe. Acknowledging that all things are a reflection of the divine. Each and every one of us are a reflection of the divine, that source energy. We're fractals, we're pieces of that whole. And so from that place, we all are. I am you, you are me. And as we start to unify with the divine, we have more access to information. So I am truly unified with Michael Jaco. I am truly unified with the person that I just described in that experience. Because I understand my true inner divinity. I understand that we are all a reflection of that source. We all come from the same place, and we're all unified. That's why I can access their information as if it was my own, as if it was me, because we are all a reflection of one another. And so every place I go now, I look at people as a reflection of myself, positive and negative. People that are living from joy and happiness, people who are living from sadness and misery, or from anger and bitterness, or all the places in between. I see them for who they are, what they are, and that they are reflecting a part of me back to me. Okay? So that was very heavy, intense information. And so as that message came to me, thank you, that message would be reflected to also Michael Jaco. That message would also be reflected to that person who had that experience and had to defend themselves and who had to fight for themselves to make it to this place. The other thing that happened as I was having that experience, and that I didn't say, was that when I was trying to figure out if it was me or if it was someone else, that someone else said to me, and I would do it again. And I heard myself respond back, so would I. Because whatever I needed to go through in this life, I agreed to. And I would do it again if it meant that I had to go through all those experiences to move Mother Earth back into balance, to bring this world where it's meant to be. If I had to do it again, I would do it again. And this is called perspective, because now I could look back at my experiences after I've made it through and say, yes, I will in another lifetime, or relive this lifetime, birth into this world not remembering, and fight my way back to this place. If it means that I will succeed in fulfilling my full soul purpose. Because I know I can. And I think a message that came through, I would say a few weeks ago at least. I don't know, time sometimes is hard. I lose track of it, and that's another thing I need to talk about. So anyway, okay, so I'll say one more thing. When my son was little, he'd always say, Mom, who's your favorite superhero? Who's your favorite superhero? And I would always say, Scooby-Doo. And he'd be like, Scooby-Doo's not a superhero. And I'd be like, Scooby-Doo is absolutely a superhero. And I would say being a superhero doesn't mean that you're impervious. It's not like Superman. You could shoot bullets at him, he can fly, you can't kill him, right? It's not that. It's not about Batman and all his cool gadgets. It's not about Spider-Man and his cool spider webs and his super special bones, right? It's not about Wonder Woman and her invisible jet and her lasso. It's not about those things. It's about overcoming your fear. It's about your ability to overcome your fear. Scooby-Doo and Shaggy, no matter what, when their friends are in danger or need help, they always show up. No matter how afraid they are, they always show up. They never leave their friends hanging. I go, that's what makes them superheroes. And I would take Scooby and Shaggy over any of the superheroes any of the people or cartoon characters that we know as superheroes. Absolutely. He didn't like that answer, but it's the truth. In this world, in this life, it's not about being strong or powerful. It's about being able to overcome your fears. And I've done that my whole life. I never let my fears stop me from doing what I wanted to do or what I needed to do. And I believe that's our greatest superpower. Being able to overcome our fears, having the emotional intelligence to be able to overcome our fears, and then driving from the heart center. Unconditional love, from the divine. So being able to overcome our fears is our greatest superpower. But the greatest gift given to us is the depth and breadth of emotion, which includes the depth and breadth of love, which is the homeostatic state of the divine, and it imbues and empowers us with the ability to create beyond what any other being in the universe can create. We can create what the divine can create from the material plane with the depth and breadth of emotions, because we carry the depth and breadth of emotions and therefore the depth and breadth of love. Right? Does that make sense? It's unparalleled in the universe. This world is unparalleled in the universe. It has to be unparalleled. Okay. So now we're going to go to on Sunday after the last video. I have notes. The new continents are like Australia. They will exist in isolation for a while. Australia is unique. That is why the lockdowns were so extreme and why they're still in a completely different place than we are. The flow of energy is not eternal. 0 point is that point where a particle of energy moves at its slowest or engages in the least amount of movement. Should it stop moving, reality will cease to exist. This would be the moment where divinity returns to pure existence, pure consciousness, solely acknowledging itself as existence. I am. This happens more than you think. And so this is where I started getting information and visions on time and how time stretches and contracts. The universe ceases to exist more often than we think. We think of time as linear, life as linear, beginning to end, but that is not how it works. The universe can stop and pick things up. The universe can stop and pick things back up wherever, whenever it chooses. Select a point in time to return to. It can relive lifetimes, periods in time, the same way we relive experiences through our memories. Our reality is created through our consciousness. And so the best parallel I can share would be anybody who read Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five. In Slaughterhouse-Five, there's a gentleman who is stuck in time, I guess. And so he could move through his lifetime from beginning to end. Okay? But that's it. And so the book is about how he moves through time, his lifetime. And so just the same way we can think about our memories from the past and experience have those experiences again through our memory, this divine source energy can do the same thing. It can take a moment and pause and relive or experience any moment in time that we've experienced, because it's experiencing it through us. We are manifestations of the divine's consciousness and awareness, manifested on a material plane, on this material plane that we call the universe. Okay? And so I did this drawing I don't know if it really matters, just this 0 point right here, okay? This right here. I did those, I had those diagrams or images of the Fibonacci spiral, then the 0 point in the middle, and then the Fibonacci spiral on the bottom, as above, so below. And at that center point, 0 point, is where that particle of energy is vibrating, okay? And it is zero point is that point where that particle of energy is moving at its slowest, where it's the slowest movement it can make without the universe ceasing to exist, okay? And when that particle of energy stops moving, the universe ceases to exist, okay? There is no energy in the void, okay? There's no energy in the void, okay? So what came to me was that every moment, every thought, every millisecond in the universe, in this time, the universe collapses on itself and then rebuilds. This collapsing of the universe is happening continuously. We are returning to source and to pure energy perpetually, because there is no time, okay? All time is right now. Each moment in time is this minute right now. This only exists right now. There is no past, there is no future, there is only this moment, okay? And all moments in time exist simultaneously, okay? And so when that energy reaches 0 point, everything ceases to exist. Everything returns to source. Everything returns to that source energy, okay? And then the divinity picks it back up and creates another iteration of itself, okay? So that 0 point, although 0 point represents the slowest movement that a particle of energy can make before the universe ceases to exist, that also in that space is the void, okay? So there is going to be no physicist that can reconcile that truth without connecting with the divine. They'll never understand the whole of the universe. They are not going to be able to reconcile the theory of everything until they connect with their spiritual side. Because that is the most profound truth that nobody's can comprehend from this place. Okay? Because, I don't know, I was listening to Cosmic Disclosure, and I think it was Randy Kramer said something about some beings that live for millions of years. So they live for 1,000,000 years, let's say. And he said something very flippant like, well, they don't even know if the universe, what happens, if the universe ends, if we cease to exist, if so on and so forth. They don't even know. And I thought to myself, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, because how could they not know? They live 1,000,000 years, they have 1,000,000 years to figure this out. They don't know, but I know. That makes no sense to me. But that just goes to agendas being played out, right? Seeds being planted of fear, right? Even though they say, oh, we're just trying to inform you, it's fear. But once you understand you're connected to the source of all creation, that you are part of the source of all creation, and that you exist within that realm, within that consciousness, then what else is there to worry about? Why are we so concerned? People have become on this world so attached to their things, they don't want to let them go. The idea, they are identified by their things. They are defined by their things. They are identified and defined by their jobs. They are identified and defined by their cars, by their homes, by their families, by their wives or their husbands, by their shoes, right? By their investments, okay? Where their house is, how many houses they have, how many cars they have, right? And it's hard for people to imagine who they are and what they are if they don't have these things to define them, right? So we all have to realize that everything we need resides within, and seek that out, and search for our inner divinity, and search for that love that is our homeostatic state, because we don't need anything other than that. But we just don't know that. Some of us, a lot of us, don't know that. We're still very much connected to this plane of existence, this third dimensional reality. And to let that go is very difficult. But there's something better. There's something bigger. There's something greater and more beautiful than you could possibly imagine that we're working towards. And just consider the possibility. I said that to somebody once who was so stuck in fear. One of these spiritual gurus. Didn't want to hear it. But think about what can happen if you open yourself up to this information. Think about not what you might lose, but think about what you'll gain. What will you get if you relinquish your fears from the past? Fear is an illusion, because our homeostatic state, our natural state of being, is pure love. Unconditional love for the self first, and once you love yourself unconditionally, you can love all other things unconditionally. That's our natural state. Consider what you can achieve, receive from that place. Don't think about what you might lose. Think about what you're moving towards, not what you're moving away from. Okay? So I'm just going to read this because it's here. Patterns in behavior are noted by the high-pitched ringing in my ears. So I was telling you that still sometimes I have negative thoughts that I struggle with. So the second I get those negative thoughts, I bring in the light, I clear, center, and balance my energy. I clear my space, I clear the surrounding areas. I ask the divine to infuse me with love and light energy and empower me on my path and purpose, and help me to be the person I'm meant to be on this world in this lifetime. Okay? And just go through that really fast. Because this could be anywhere. It could be working or on the bus or with my kids. Any moment it can happen. And so what I've noticed recently is I've always had this ringing in my ears for a very long time. And it's not something medical. It is my vibration. It is the vibration of the divine coming in to engage me in a different way other than claircognizance, clairsentience. It's clairaudience, right? This pitch. When I start having negative thoughts, what I realize is that pitch goes up, like exponentially. It's like, if I can imagine what a dog whistle would sound like, because I can't hear a dog whistle, but that's what it sounds like in my ears. It goes way up, and what I realize is when that pitch starts going up in my ears, I'm having negative thoughts. And it's not oh, Lorraine, you're having a negative thought, you better work on that. As soon as I have a negative thought, that is divine source energy coming in, infusing me with love and light, and raising my vibration, keeping my vibration balanced, not allowing me to dwell and move into that negative thought and wallow there. It's raising my vibration. And I work with the divine. So the second I hear that pitch go up, I'm like, up. And I just start doing my disciplines, okay? And like I said, I'm better today than I was yesterday, the week before that, a year ago, 5 years ago, because I'm very disciplined in my spiritual practices, and I will always engage that practice, that discipline of clearing my energy whenever I take note of those things. Always. So this is the 18th. The behavior we are witnessing around us is about ego. Others believing that they know what is right. They know what is appropriate for you better than you do. The ego says, I know. Do as I say. I'm right, you're wrong. The compassionate heart accepts you for who you are and allows you to be that person. The loving heart allows you to express yourself as you see fit, then decides if that is a healthy environment to remain in, then receives you openly or lets you go with love and gratitude. The ego will attempt to control, manipulate, and convince you it is right, that you should believe and follow it. The compassionate and loving heart allows the ego to be itself, releases it with love and gratitude, unifies with its source. The source inspires the ego to find its way home. The release of the ego is the first major step home. So, the compassionate heart, the fractal me, let's just say, chooses whether it will, if this person, this ego, is a healthy environment to remain in, or if it is more appropriate to let that ego, that person, go with love and gratitude for what it's brought into its life. Well, what it's brought into my life, right? And the parallel I could draw would be my marriage and my ex-husband. We worked for 2 years in marital counseling. I did individual therapy as well as marital counseling, trying to figure out and work out the issues. And at some point, it just became clear that it was time to talk about our next steps and move on. And so I let go with love and gratitude for what the experience brought me. Okay? And so once we let go of that thing and we release it to source energy, to the divine, then the divine works towards inspiring that ego to find its way back. Okay, back to source. Okay, back to that homeostatic state of unconditional love and compassion, kindness, acceptance, right? Also, when I was sitting and I was watching a video or something, and I heard church bells ringing, and then like right after I heard hail, and I'm like, this is not a coincidence. There's something happening. Okay, so I looked up what church bells represent, and ringing bells call the angels to stand watch over the blessed. Okay, hail represents God's wrath. So the church bells called in the angels to stand watch over the blessed, and the hail represents the wrath, and that's an extension of I guess the last 2 weeks videos where I said I received messages about the transition, about water rising, about land masses rising to the surface from the ocean, creating new continents, how that would affect the land that's already here, how people could survive that. And I was told, I was shown Noah's Ark, and I was told that the people that were meant to be on the ark made it to the ark. The animals and whatever else was supposed to be on the ark made it to the ark, and they were saved, right? They were able to transition to the next level of consciousness in that time. And so what this was telling me was there were angels being called to earth to protect those that will be transcending, and that the hail, that something will be coming to represent God's wrath. But what I also noted was that hail comes from water, and water is about flow. Water is about emotions, and so water brings the hail, and then once the hail falls, it melts back into flow. So it's going to be a temporary transition, but yes, it will happen, and it will move us back into the flow of energy of the divine. Okay. The other thing was 10:23. Was that today? I think. Acknowledging and loving both the divine masculine and the divine feminine within us. accepting our biological sex while simultaneously loving our divine masculine and feminine parts is important. Loving and accepting our biological sex without negating it is paramount. What is happening today is a bastardization of divine masculine and divine feminine, and thus a bastardization of the divine. This does not honor the covenant set forth by divinity, and those not honoring the covenant are still bound by it. The covenant purports consequences. Your words, actions, thoughts determine what your consequences will be during this time of transition. And so I would just say what else that came after that was there are many ways that the divine is being bastardized, and that that's one of many. And there was a covenant, a promise that was made to the followers of God, divinity, the source, Jesus Christ, and then every other religion. So Buddha, Muhammad and Allah, the Hindu religion, and I know there are way more than that, but every religion has maybe you can call it a judgment day or a time of transition where people will be called to fulfill their promises to their deities, right? And so that time is now. And that promise that was made to the people from that deity, from that source energy, that divine source energy, that divine source is fulfilling its promise to you. Did you fulfill your promise to the divine? Okay, whatever that deity or divine energy is for you in your life, did you reciprocate and fulfill the promise that was asked? Okay. And so if you did, we are being rewarded. We will transcend. If you did not, you will be moving to another world and you will transcend on that world. But it won't be here because there will be no room for error on this world. Okay, because of the power of this world to create. Okay. All these people who have been through so much trauma and survived it and found their way out of it. This Ten of Swords, if you have made it through that trauma, found your way back to balance, to a place of love and light and compassion and true devotion to that source energy, you will be rewarded on this world as we transcend. But those, I don't want to say that any one person is better or worse than another, because we are all part of the source. We are all part of the same source of creation. But some people have withstood some intense trauma, intense betrayal, intense loss, abandonment, that have instilled incredible amounts of fear and vulnerability. And those people who have endured that and are able to find their way back to center, those are the most fortified on this world. And those are the ones who are asked to fulfill the greatest, most burdensome lifetimes, because we have always fulfilled our obligation to the divine. And right now we have all made it to this point. We've made it through. We've fought our way through. And our next challenge is understanding that we don't have to fight anymore, that we have been so fortified in our energy fields because of our ability to make it through and always be true to ourselves and find our way back to balance. Because of that, we are the tip of the spear. I don't know. It's hard for me to say that, and I don't want to ostracize or offend other people, but those people who have faced the darkness head on and seen how hideous it is and know it and have the experience firsthand and came out of it and still are good people. They're wounded, they're scarred, their heart, mind, body, and spirit, there are scars, but they still are good people in the depths of who they are. There are, first of all, great rewards coming, but we are always asked to live these lives and complete these obligations, because we always do. We always fulfill our obligations. And there was no room for error on this world through this whole period. There was no option to fail. And although we work from a framework, there was a lot of energy working against us. And we still prevailed. So I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to validate people, their experiences. I'm trying to validate their struggle. I'm trying to inspire to know that there's something beautiful waiting for you to keep you moving forward, even though it feels like it might be taking forever. And know that for some people, this is what just came to me. Failure was never an option for these people. They always find a way. And so that's why they're always asked to fulfill the most difficult, most challenging, most trying experiences and lifetimes. Because failure is never an option, and they always fulfill their obligations to the divine. Okay, give me a second. Okay, and one more thing. When I was clearing my energy in the beginning, and I was honoring the raptors and the gladiolus and her people, I had this vision, and it's just and it was just like a variation on a Fibonacci spiral. It was a little more U-shaped and top and bottom, and then there still was that 0 point spot right here in the middle up here, right? But then down here was what I saw as a gate. This was a gate right here, okay? And it was very much like the Chinese, like when I watch these old Chinese movies, it's just the way they have the gates and they have writing on them. That's what I saw. And so, give me a second. There's, as we go through this transition, science as we know it will change. So that's why the variation in the shape of the Fibonacci spirals, as above so below, into that more U-shaped, more rounded shape, because the most sacred shape in the universe is spherical, right? Round. And that new vision, that new perception is going to open a gateway for us. Okay? And so as I say that, there is a gateway of protection. This gateway represents protection. And I don't know how that's going to manifest or what that means, because that just this second came to me, and now I'm seeing all this light coming through, like this profound light coming in and shining through the gateway. The gateway, what I'm seeing right now is like an arc. That gateway represents an arc. And I'm seeing animals and people moving through the gateway. And this is a divine energy. This is not the shooing off of the negative polarity off this world. This is the divine gateway for those people who are transcending. All animal, all vegetation, tree, soil, water beings, all those are moving through the gateway, but not all humans. And gladiolus and the raptors will be moving through the gateway, but not other beings in the inner earth. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you.